All right, guys. So today's Friday. So our core value for today is attitude. I know we're all going through this tough time. We got to do it together and create some normalcy, and continue to talk about our culture and what direction we want that thing to head and what we want to be known for. So I have a guest with us here today. But before he starts, what I want you to do is, as you listen and watch this, think about the following. All right, number one, what can I take away from this presentation? So what are some things that he tells you that you can put into your everyday life for football, athletics, being a member of your family, being an athlete, being a student, all that type of stuff. And then number two, how can my attitude impact my situation? So right now we're all going through these tough times. So, he's going to talk a little bit about different situations he's been in and how his attitude and how his approach has benefited him. And then, how will I handle adversity? We've talked about adversity in sports, the classroom, and, right now we're facing some major adversity as a country. So, your attitude and how you approach that can have a huge impact. All right. So I'll introduce this guy. His name is Justin Kershaw. I've known him for a long time. When he was in high school, he was a state champion in Ohio for discus and shot put, which those of you guys that throw those know that's really hard to do. He was a 3-year starter at Michigan State. He was a captain. Probably the thing that's the most impressive is he's the Iron Man Award winner, which basically means you are the toughest dude at Michigan State. Spent a little time with the Carolina Panthers, and now he's a business entrepreneur. So, I'm going to turn it over to him. So, Justin, thanks for being here. Anything you would like to add to your resume here?
No, man, I got to watch you playing when I was a sophomore in high school, and I was a freshman in high school, actually, and I tell everybody before I talk to your players, which you've given me the opportunity before, but I remember I was scared of it back in the day. So I really appreciate you having me on, and I love the game of football. It's taught me so much about my life. I don't play anymore, but there are certain leadership teachings that I learned while going through the game that I still apply now to my life. So I'm just glad to be here with you guys.
Yeah, so Justin, a little background. Our core values as a team are relentless, right? We want to be known as relentless. We want to be known as selfless. We want to be known as consistent. We want to be known as cohesive. And then today our focus is, having a great attitude. And so anything you can share kind of about your attitude and, how you, instill that in athletics, and then now as a father and a husband and as an entrepreneur and all that type of stuff would be great.
About the concept of having an attitude, there was a poem or a statement, I think it was from Vince Lombardi, and it talked about how your attitude is a choice. And I saw that as a teenager when I was a lot of your guys' age. And I always thought attitude was something bad, because you would hear people say, "Oh, he has an attitude problem. He has a bad attitude." But really, your attitude can be positive, and your attitude is just like your pectoral muscle or tricep or your quad when you're doing a squat. Like, you're deliberately squatting to the ground. You're deliberately doing a bench press and using your muscles. The same thing is for your attitude. You get to choose how you're going to respond to everything. And I think a synonym for attitude is mindset. It's what's my mindset going to be going into whatever I'm doing. And, I hear people talk about, like, I believe that I can win. Well, your actions will show me your belief. Your actions will show me your attitude. Your actions will show me your mindset. And I think it's about defining what your attitude is going to be going into it. And those core principles that you just said, Coach, are wonderful. And you have to intentionally, as a player, as a young man, as a friend, as a son, as a brother, you have to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and this is my mindset, and do my actions align with what I'm saying my mindset is. So just to sum it up, attitude is a choice. You get to choose how you're going to respond to everything and your attitude prior to doing something. So that's what having an attitude means to me. And as a player, I can remember, some guys are naturally faster than other people, and some people have naturally better attitudes. And I remember before practice at Michigan State, There were some days where I didn't, it's cloudy outside, I'm tired, you don't feel like practicing, but there's ways that you can shift your attitude by making yourself get excited, by encouraging other players. Even listening to music can help you change your attitude and get you in the right mind frame, because I'm going to tell you right now, guys, games are won between your ears. Always. Before you go into something, you have to believe that you can do it. And I think it helps you, especially seniors. What's your attitude? What's your mindset going to be with the younger guys that you are, the guys that are under you, the underclassmen? Are you going to lead, or are you going to, just walk all over them and be selfish and not be cohesive, like Coach talked about? So attitude is very important. It's something that you can't see, like you can a muscle, but it's even more important than that. So that's what attitude means to me.
Hey, Justin, so you mentioned to you attitude is the exact same thing as a muscle, your pec, your quad, whatever. So, it's real easy to figure out, how do I train my quads? How do I train my pecs? So out of curiosity, what do you do deliberately to train your attitude to be one that will win you games?
That's a great question. So first, I think you need to check your attitude. Just like we're talking about the workouts, the numbers don't lie in a workout. I can either bench, I would bench like 405. Just that's what I would do. Either I could do it or I couldn't. With your attitude, you need to have a self-evaluation. Like, what are my thoughts right now? Am I thinking about what I'm thinking about? What's my mindset now? And that's a question you should always ask yourself. If you look at the greats in sports, LeBron James or Tom Brady, they're always self-evaluating their mindset. What am I speaking to myself about what's going on? So simply put, just check in with yourself and ask yourself, am I thinking the right thoughts? Am I thinking that I'm here to serve my teammates? Am I thinking about my assignment? Am I thinking about my technique? That's what you need to think about. And number two is, I think there's a wealth of knowledge, guys. When I was in school, you didn't have the resources that are so readily available about mindset. And there's a book that I tell the young guys I talk to. It's called With Winning in Mind. During this time where you have some downtime, pick up a book, order it, through Audible or whatever you can do. It's called With Winning in Mind. It's about a guy that became an Olympian in rifle shooting, and he did it just by training his mind. And, one of the ways that you can do that is by practicing excellence in your technique. And if you intentionally think about your technique, when you get to competition, it'll be so much easier for you. You don't even have to think about it. So I would say reading and then checking in with yourself that you're thinking the right thoughts. But there's a book called With Winning in Mind that can give you practical ways to check your mindset, and to check your attitude.
Nice. So I remember we've talked about this before. After you came and talked to our team, one of my assistant coaches came up to me and, he started Googling you and, see if you were legit. And so he found this article where Kirk Cousins, who you played with at Michigan State, was like some terrible practice he had. He threw like 10 interceptions. And in his mind, he was thinking, man, I'm far away from home. I'm no good. Like, I need to just transfer to some D3 school by my house and, just go live with mom and dad. And in that article, he said that the one thing that kept him at Michigan State was the fact that you came up to him as a, upperclassman defensive lineman, came up to the quarterback that was struggling and basically gave him some words of encouragement. So, I think, we've talked about how you can impact your attitude, maybe kind of, expand on that and what you do to deliberately impact the attitudes of other players.
Thanks for saying that and you bringing that up. But I'm going to answer your question with a story. I was at Reynoldsburg and I was going into my senior year, and we had a passing scrimmage practice amongst the team. And people were joking around and we weren't taking it serious. And I thought it was a good opportunity for me to step up and lead. And I remember saying, like, I'm sick of this, I that, I do this. And there was a coach that was listening, and he came up to me and he put his arm around me and he said, there were a lot of eyes in that conversation you had. And I was like, what's he talking about? I really didn't understand it, where I'm thinking to myself, Coach, I'm trying to lead the best I can. But as I got older, I realized I made it all about me. It was all about me. That it was, let me see if I can be a good leader. Let me tell everybody what's making me upset, what's making me angry. And it can't be about you as a football player, as a leader, as a young man. It has to be about everybody else. So I use the airplane scenario where, yes, you have to put your mask on before you put the mask on of the person sitting next to you. You have to evaluate yourself and make sure you're in excellence before you call somebody else out. But that never stops you from lending a hand to somebody that you see is having a rough time, because you never know that you can literally change the course of that person's life. And I've seen that happen where I stepped out of my comfort zone just when I saw somebody's in need, and it's been able to help them out. So it's about iron sharpening iron, being there for your brother and not making it all about yourself and your own selfish ambition. So I hope that answers the question, but that's what leaders do. They're not just inwardly focused. They look at each other. And I'm telling you guys right now, with the talent you have on your team, the coaching staff you have, the resources you have, if you guys start playing hard, not for yourself, not so you can get a scholarship, not so you can win, not so you can be in the newspaper, but you start playing for each other. That's how you win games. That's how state champions are won, and how memories are made.
Last time you talked to our team or our group of seniors, I think the thing that stuck most with those guys was you told them, I refuse to be a victim, right?
Yep.
And you said it pretty passionately. Maybe you could, explain that to these guys, because none of them have ever heard that before, and, kind of expand and explain what exactly you mean by that phrase.
Yep. Yeah. I think that all comes down to your attitude. A lot of times, you have two different scenarios. You have, somebody that unfortunately gets really sick, and they can, mope around and be sad and feel sorry for themselves and be very selfish and inwardly focused. And I would say somebody that got really sick, they have the right to do that. It's unfortunate that happened. But then you have other people that get sick, and they see it as an opportunity, that they're going to overcome their situations and they're not going to be victims of their situations. And they become victors and not victims. And attitude comes down to how you perceive the world around you. I've heard people that are really sick before, and they said they've been given a gift. They've been given a gift of perspective, where they have a different perspective on life. So there's a movie I always refer to, Shawshank Redemption. I say you guys should watch it. It's a great movie. I watch it all the time. But there's a guy named Andy Dufresne, and Andy was wrongfully accused. He was literally raped in prison. He was beat up. He was taken advantage of when he tried to help other people. And instead of, he has a saying, either get busy living or get busy dying. He could have been a victim, and he tunneled through this plumbing, and he escaped the prison. He escaped the situation. But I always imagine him looking in the mirror at himself, saying that I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim. And if he could have easily became a victim and just went with the status quo, stayed locked up, stayed in prison, but he overcame the situation. And so I think a lot of times, guys, when you're in practice or you're getting screamed at or things are going your way, you can feel sorry for yourself, but it's an opportunity for you to overcome. And that'll help you not only with football, but in every aspect of your life.
Yeah, I really appreciate that thought, man. That's very relevant, I think, to what we're going through as a country right now. Is the perception of the situation, and a lot of people are looking at this in kind of a negative light. And to tell you the truth, I get to stay at home with my family and create these deeper bonds with them, and spend time with my kids like I never have before. And just how you choose to use that time is very powerful. All right. Well, I don't want to eat up too much of your time. So kind of a final thought, like if you were talking to some high school student and you wanted to give him one nugget of wisdom to kind of impact his life, what would you tell him?
I have to say this to guys, is I'm a Christian, and giving my life to the Lord and following the principles of the Bible has it's benefited me more than anything else in my life. But I would also say number two is live with a sense of integrity, that you're going to be a man of integrity. And character, guys, is who you are when nobody's watching. And in this day and age, when you have shoot coach, when me and you were in school, we didn't have social media, we didn't have Twitter, so your life was a lot more private. And now it's really cool to, look good on social media. Everybody wants attention, but what really matters is who you are when nobody's watching. And there's been, I think, 4 or 5 times in the past couple of weeks where I've seen corrupt leaders, men who are a lot older than any of us, who were given high positions, and they were caught, and their legacies are tarnished, their families are embarrassed, their jobs are lost because they didn't have integrity. And if you, as a young man, say, I'm going to be the best I can be when nobody's watching, when nobody can like it, you'll be so much better off. So I would say live with integrity. And that's a word that's going to get thrown around your whole life, but I call it the train theory, guys. It's like if Coach lived next to a train and it drove by every day at 12 o'clock, and I go to visit him and the train goes by and the walls shake, everything falls down, I'm like, dude, how do you live here? And he says, I've just phased it out. I don't even listen to it. You're going to hear buzzwords your whole life like that, like integrity, like character. But it's your job to freaking grab those words and hold on to them, because it's a matter of life and death. That's how serious I take it. So have good character when nobody's watching.
All right, I appreciate that. All right, so couple final thoughts. Make sure you guys take care of yourselves and others. Continue to work on your goals. We all set goals at the start of this quarter. Make sure you're using this time. And then also 3 o'clock today is that athlete Zoom presentation by Titan. The Zoom ID is up there on the screen. So if you guys can, make sure you log in. They got a pretty good list of speakers. And thanks again, Justin. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Anytime.